Hey guys, this is the Dutch Sandwich. I'll be doing kind of a 6-month report slash overview slash review on my Buick Regal GS. And so this is a 2012 Buick Regal GS. I bought it 6 months ago and it had 40,000 miles on it. Now this particular one is the 6-speed manual transmission. They also made it in a all-wheel drive automatic version, but I really wanted the manual version, obviously, so I bought it. So I paid $16,500 for it, which considering that the original sticker price was $38,000 for the base, is pretty good. I think it depreciated pretty good, mostly because I think not a lot of people want a Buick Regal, or not a lot of people understand a Buick Regal GS, especially the manual one. So, but I'm weird. So a little backstory. My previous car was a Honda Fit manual transmission. I had that car for 7 years. I really liked it, but I just wanted something a little bit more professional, a little bit sportier, and just something a little bit nicer. And so I was looking at a lot of different sports sedans, and this one kept popping up. And initially I had kind of knee-jerk reaction, like, no way, like there's no way I'm gonna want a Buick. Like they're old people cars. But the more and more I looked into it, it actually made a lot of sense from like a practical standpoint, from a monetary standpoint, and so that's kind of what I'm going to hit on now. So obviously the price, that is such a good price. I mean, there's nothing else I could find that had good reviews that was in this price range for this category. I mean, there's the Audi A4, which gets a lot of rave reviews and stuff, but for a similar year, it was a couple $1,000s more. So let's go ahead and get into the things I really like. First thing is the brakes. So if you get the Buick Regal Turbo, you get the same engine as this. It's just not tuned quite as heavily, but with the GS, you get higher end suspension, higher end brakes. This car, according to Consumer Reports, has the shortest stopping distance of any luxury compact sedan. So I like that. I mean, safety-wise, performance-wise, it's just fun. They really grab. Another thing I really like is the engine. This is GM's most powerful engine per liter that they've ever made. It's a 2-liter. It made 270 horsepower from the factory. So liter for liter, it's their most powerful engine. One thing that I changed on this, as you can see, is I added a cold air intake. So with the turbo and the GS specific exhaust, it was just a little bit too calmed down for my taste. And so with the cold air intake, the K&N, it really opened up the wastegate sound and the whoosh sound, and we'll get into all the sounds and stuff later, but I can't recommend that enough, because unless you really get on the gas, you can really hide the sound pretty well if you just drive normally, but when you get on it or you press the GS button, it really sounds great. Next up, I love the foot pedals, just like that drilled aluminum look. It's really sporty. There's a good feel to the clutch. I don't like this feel of stick shift quite as much as my Honda, but I mean, from what I can tell, the Honda really has a pretty good transmission, and it's kind of tough to beat, but this one still feels good. And it's nice that I like that it's a 6-speed manual transmission, and I like that there's a button for the reverse. You just click the front and then you can go up into reverse. That's another thing I really like. Another thing that I think is really cool are the seats. So they're super luxurious leather, and the bolstering is really extreme. I'm sitting here in the back seat, so you can see how extreme that the bolster is, and it just hugs you really, really nicely. They're extremely adjustable. It's just a great place to sit. Another thing that's great on this car is the steering wheel. It's super beefy, really nice to kind of hold on to, and just the driving position with the armrest on the door there, and then the armrest here in the center is just a really nice driving position. I also really like the air conditioning control. So when you go up into the newer model, this is a 2012. If you go up, I think it's 2013 or 14, they have like a touch screen thing that a lot of people hate. This is just simple. I mean, you still get, climate control perks and stuff, but you don't have the downside of some of those weird finicky controls. I like all the storage up here. You get two cup holders here. You have under here, you've got 2 USB holes. I've got a auxiliary cord permanently hardwired into the back of the head unit so that I can use a Bluetooth adapter. And then you've got more storage down in here. So that's a plus. Back here, it gets even cooler, I think. You've got AC for your folks in the back seat, fully adjustable. You can cut it off, cut it on. And then you have a full alternating current outlet back here. So if you want to charge a laptop or do whatever, you can plug that in right there. It's so cool. So also really cool. So moving into the back seat here, one of the complaints you'll see on Consumer Reports, other places, is the rear visibility. It is not great, but it's certainly not that bad. I wouldn't necessarily say it's that bad at all. Just wanted to bring that up. Another thing I really like is this center divider. So you've got 2 more cup holders for your rear seat passengers, and then more storage in this bay underneath here. And that just folds up. Another thing I like too, coming from a hatchback like the Honda Fit, these seats fold completely down, and it's a pass through to the back seat, or excuse me, to the trunk. So that's really handy. Back seat room, I'm sitting behind myself right now. I'm 6'2", and you can see that my legs are pretty much right up against the back seat. So it is not super spacious, but again, 6'2", sitting behind myself with the front seat set for me, and I still, you know, it's not uncomfortable. All right, now I'm up here in the front seat. I love the secret compartment right here. I've got an extra pair of sunglasses down there in case I ever forget a pair. The automatic lights work really well, unless it's kind of just lightly raining and you need to put them on yourself, but they're pretty darn good. The Harman Kardon sound system is decent. I'm probably pickier than most people. If you've watched some of my other videos, I'm pretty into hi-fi and stuff like that. Certainly not, I don't label myself like an audiophile or a snob or anything like that, but it's just, I would say it's just okay. Part of the reason being, I talked to a local stereo installer, and I guess this particular radio, whether it's a Buick thing or a GM thing or whatever, as you turn it up louder, it actually pulls back on the bass, which is just so Buick. I love it. But I'm in my mid-30s and occasionally like to, you know, listen to some music that has some bass in it. So I fix that with a 12-inch subwoofer that's in the trunk, and then I have a kicker bass level adjustment right here, so I can kind of attenuate that, you know, down as I need to. Okay, and I'm just going to hit on a couple things that I just don't really like, or that you should look out for. Yeah, they're not that frequent or far between, but so this whole thing kind of stinks. If you turn it on here, you have just a very basic input up here, and this is like the more stripped down, where it's just kind of green and black. It's just kind of dopey for a car that's this high end. It's got this much soft touch material, this much, you know, beautiful leather. To have something like this in 2012, just kind of lame. But they do have a higher end package that has navigation and stuff like that, but still you probably won't have much, you know, up-to-date stuff with like your current phones and things like that. But definitely keep that in mind if you're big into stereos. It's really tough. So the options that you can do is they have a kit where this basically all disappears. All these kind of nice beveled buttons and stuff go. This stays, and you have to pay to move the AC down like an inch. And so I got a quote with the kit and an aftermarket dual DIN stereo receiver and stuff. It was going to be like $1,200 or $1,300, and it just looked stupid. I mean, I like kind of the look of these buttons. So I bought, actually it's in the trunk, I haven't found someone to install it. I bought this like aftermarket Chinese, like no name brand thing that is supposed to fit right into here, because Pioneer, Kenwood, all like the normal manufacturers that make dual DIN receivers don't make a plug and play option for this up here, unfortunately. I mean, it seems like it would. It seems like the size would be right and stuff. You just adapt with the AC vents and kind of fit it in here, but unfortunately that's not the case. So that's a big complaint for me, just because I love to have the ability to add an aftermarket stereo. So that's one thing I don't like. Another thing that I would say is just a little bit difficult to get used to is first gear. So the way that you get into it, it's almost like at an angle, like a little bit like that, whereas I'm used to the Honda that was kind of more straightforward. So when you go like really quickly to put it in, sometimes you'll actually miss, and it's embarrassing. but you have to go a little bit to the right. And I know that sounds like I'm maybe an amateur or whatever, but yeah, there's definitely, it may just be on this car, but there's definitely just like a little bit of a hitch to the right in first gear. And maybe that's because reverse is up here, but that's another thing that's taken a little bit of getting used to, but not a huge deal by any means. Believe it or not, these headlights have been a negative. So while they really look cool, I think they're xenon or whatever, you'll look around online and there's actually some pretty negative stuff to say online about these headlights. So there's a gasket surrounding this housing that I guess has prematurely worn away on a lot of these models. And so when I bought this, it had some condensation behind the headlight, and I was like, oh, it's no big deal. It'll dry out, or it's not going to hurt the bulb. It actually ended up burning out the bulb, and so you run the risk of either trying to reseal it yourself or have your mechanic reseal that foam closure thing and replace the bulb, and you risk doing it again, or just start fresh and do the whole thing. So I ended up going the start fresh, do the whole thing route, and believe it or not, it's like $1,200 for this whole housing and assembly. So if you're gonna get this car, definitely check the headlights, make sure there is zero condensation, unless you're getting a really good deal and just plan on replacing it. Alright, so let's try a acceleration here. I'm going to put it into GS mode, and I will turn off the air conditioning. Alright, let's see if you can hear the engine too. Turn here. So I don't think those accelerations work too well, but just to kind of wrap up the video here, I don't want to make this too long, but I really do love the car. Here I'm driving at night right now, and I think my plans are obviously to get that stereo upgraded. That should be done the next couple weeks. I'll be sure to do a video on that, and if all goes well with that, and then I'm kind of sure that I'm going to keep the car for a while, I'm going to also do a chip upgrade. So it's from Trifecta Tuning, and they have a package where you can basically upgrade the amount of boost that the turbo gives. And for this particular engine, it's supposed to go up from 270 horsepower to 325 horsepower with 350 foot-pounds of torque. Man, I'm out of it. So from 270 horse and 295 foot-pounds to 325 horsepower and 350 torque. And I've got the cold air intake, so I probably have maybe like another 7 to 10 horse on top of that. So for a 4-cylinder engine to have, call it 335 horsepower, it's going to be pretty cool. So I'll be sure to do videos on all that stuff if I go through with it. And yeah, I'd love to know kind of what you guys think of the car. I know it's kind of a weird car, but I love it. I love having something that's made in America. I've never had a car that's made in America, even though this is technically made in Canada. I guess this particular model was either made in Canada or Germany, and my particular car here is made in Canada. But that was kind of anticlimactic. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and we will catch you in the next video.